back to the new norm. I'm Dr. Lou Graham. This program is brought to you by Midway Dental and Catapult Education. This program really falls right to my heart. The year is 2016. Yeah, I know we're in 2020. 2016, I'm lecturing at the ADA, and my why in life is how do I preserve teeth to their 85th birthday? And it's just what I talk on, and it's how I practice. So I walk out of my course and I befriend a new gentleman and his wife, end up having we'll call it a cocktail or two. It's been our trademark. And what then transpires has been a long-term friendship. So in 2016, I meet a Stephen Bloembergen. And Stephen has formed a company called GreenMark Biomedical. They're based out of Michigan. And I think this is the future. And it's all about minimally invasive dentistry. It's really all about, in my eyes, where dentistry in this COVID era and post-COVID era will continue to go. And really, I just want to dive deep into this. So Steve, first off, Stephen, welcome to the show. Say hi to the audience.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Lou.
Be a little more animated, bro. Okay, so Stephen, kind of tell me in a way a little bit about your background and how you've gotten into this field of dentistry and diagnostics. Go.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Lou, let me start out by saying I'm not a dentist, so you may want to warn your listeners to double check any new learnings from me. I am an entrepreneur and a scientist at heart, and my personal passions include nature and nanotechnology. So in 1996, I started a company called Synthetics. This is now a global corporation. And we were fortunate enough to lead a successful IPO in 2011, commercializing starch nanoparticles all over the world. And then I realized that these make an ideal carrier for dental applications. And in 2016, I founded GreenMark and transitioned full-time to the new venture. Yes, baby, starting all over again. Now it's hard work, but now Ecosynthetics has become my trusted supplier, and we transferred key patents, and GreenMark took out a worldwide exclusive license to dental technology invented by our University of Michigan collaborators based on our nanoparticles. At the time, we were supporting a research project at University of Michigan involving Nathan Jones, who earned his PhD degree as a result of that. So Nathan and I have been working together for over 10 years now, and he is our Vice President Technology. So
Stephen, let me just, I want to interrupt for a second. So you've got this starch particle background. And how do you now take this starch particle background and really bring it into dentistry, trying to diagnose early, whether it's demineralization, early caries process? Walk me through this vision of diagnostically driven with these starch particles.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew enough about dentistry to be dangerous in 2016. And we all learned quickly that dental caries is the world's most prevalent chronic disease that affects 95% of Americans over their lifetimes, and more than $200 billion are spent globally on dental caries and its complications. So I think we can probably all agree that as long as people eat sweets and don't brush their teeth twice a day, and perhaps even have a disposition towards caries, this disease is not going to ever go away. So meanwhile, we noticed that the management of caries is moving from a predominantly surgical to a more medical approach. And it seems there's this growing philosophy, and actually now taught in dental schools, that focuses on preserving enamel. This got us excited, and for this reason, we felt we need to detect caries earlier.
So Stephen, let me just ask you this. So currently, we're going to use that as a baseline. So currently, what do dentists use to detect enamel and dentin decay? They use their eyes, they use X-rays routinely and explorers. Now we've moved into fluorescence, we've moved into transillumination and other technologies, but still your focus is trying to really diagnose early lesions more. Am I right on about this?
Yeah. So cavities begin with an area of demineralization, which is an area of porosity
Right.
in the enamel subsurface. And I learned this from our collaborator and co-inventor, Dr. Brian Clarkson, who's a cariologist at the University of Michigan. So he was measuring enamel porosities at various stages of Caries disease and wanted to learn about nanoparticles. Call it serendipity. That's how we met. And this is sort of one thing leading to another, and here we are. But in the early stages, Caries presents itself, of course, as an incipient lesion, often referred to a white spot. So we then realized this can be arrested using fluoride treatments applied by the hygienist, but that's limited. But in any event, it should be obvious that if you could identify an active white spot lesion and stop its progression to a fully developed cavity, this would be very impactful. So
Huge.
you can then go ahead and repair that early white spot with non-invasive treatment. The challenge is that there really are no diagnostics that focus on true early detection, and non-invasive treatments are still in their infancy. So the benefits of what you call minimally invasive dentistry are really not being fully realized.
So Stephen, let me just do this. We're going to get to COVID, which was question 3. But before I get to question 3, let's go to question 4 because we had talked about this. So let's talk about this process of what you've developed or are going through FDA right now. Tell the audience about this process for early caries detection or demineralization of enamel.
Yeah, so let me maybe start out by saying that we, of course, know that the number of patients is a key revenue driver for dental clinics. So many believe that preventative products applied by the hygienist will actually help build trust, increase retention and referrals, and become a differentiator causing patients to switch. This means dental clinics will be more profitable by attracting more patients. So at GreenMark, we simply believe that the status quo is not an option, and we are taking advantage of biomaterials and nanotechnology. In fact, human enamel itself is a beautiful example of nanomaterials. It consists of these tiny micron-sized like structures, reminiscent of a temple with its pillars closely stacked together. We all know that enamel is the hardest material in the human body, even harder than bone. And if you tried, you couldn't design it any better. This is, to me, nanotechnology at its finest. Then, of course, we eat sugary foods. All the natural bacteria in our mouths have a party, and they shed out organic acids, and caries begins, creating this subsurface porosity in our enamel.
Right.
So at GreenMark, we're focusing on trying to help dental professionals to preserve teeth by earlier diagnosis and non-invasive treatment. And we have a technology platform in which we transform native corn starch grown by U.S. corn farmers into nanoparticles, and they then can be modified. So we attach functionalities onto the outside, and we can put things on the inside of these, what I call nano sponges. So they're not like hard rock minerals, but they're actually something we can do something with, attach things to, and then we can target them to go exactly where they're needed. And so we found, for example, a way to target fluorescent starch nanoparticles so they can detect early stage caries. And we can also load them up with fluoride and calcium and phosphate and target their delivery to the enamel subsurface to begin restoring pre-cavity white spot lesions.
So wait, Stephen. So let's talk first diagnostically. So is it a rinse that will fluoresce with a light? Tell me the process of what you're envisioning when you launch.
Yeah. So basically, let me just emphasize first of all, it's a targeted detection product, but it's still pending FDA clearance. as a
Right,
510K
right.
Class 2 device. And if all goes well as planned, we will launch this by Q4 this year. So the nanoparticles can penetrate the subsurface porosities. So if you envision an early stage lesion that's only into the enamel, the top surface layer normally remains intact. This surface layer consists of, sorry to get technical now, but this fluorohydroxyapatite. So this is a fluoride
Right.
form of calcium carbonate, the minerals of the enamel. And this fortified upper layer is the last thing to go. But at the same time, open microchannels allow acid from sugary foods to seep into the enamel subsurface. Now, as calcium
Exactly.
slowly dissolves and leaches away, our research has demonstrated that it leaves behind negative charges all over the interior of the Caries lesion. So it's simple. We put the opposite positive charge on our starch nanoparticles to target the subsurface, and we tag them with a fluorescent dye so they illuminate using a standard blue curing light that every dentist pretty well has. So the beauty of this is that the starch particles, of course, degrade by the time the patient leaves the clinic, thanks to the natural enzymes in our saliva.
Wow. So Stephen, let me just ask you this. So is the process, would a patient basically spit this out, and then the hygienist or dentist are looking
Yeah,
via a blue light to see if anything lights up and glows, and now we term that an early subsurface lesion, or at least we're aware of something early on going on. Is that the vision of that?
yes, exactly. And that was Brian Clarkson's vision all along. So basically, it's a very quick 36-second rinse. Then you wash it afterwards. So it's done after a prophy, after dental cleaning.
Got it.
And then you rinse for 30 seconds, spit it out, and then you rinse it with water, evacuate it, suction it out, and then you air dry it quickly, and then away you go.
Yep.
And it lights up.
So let me go specific. So the patient rinses this, then rinses with water. We air dry, and let's say I'm air drying first the fissures. I'm going to be able to look at fissures. Forget and explore. I'm going to be able to look at fissures to see if there is a breakdown in the enamel early on. Correct? With fissures, yes or no?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've done
Okay.
a lot of work. We've actually been very fortunate. We started with one NIH grant. We've now had 4 NIH grants from the NIDCR, the dental craniofacial
Right.
people from NIH. And this has put together an awesome team for us with a number of dentists at University of Michigan and other university at Tufts, at Creighton, at Colorado, etc. And they're all helping us to understand this better. And what we've seen is that it works on all surfaces. And what's also very interesting, particularly to cariologists, is that when you look at the kind of anatomy of a carious lesion in the fissures, you would expect that it all starts at the base where all the junk collects, and it's hard to get at with a brush. But actually, it's well known that the caries develops through the walls of the fissures and then grows out, and then a cavity forms over time. And we see that exactly with the Lumicare caries detection rinse. It lights up that whole wall. So it's very fun to see that. And we can see things that are less than 0.1 millimeter in size. So really small that you normally wouldn't see. It just would go unnoticed.
So one of the classic questions is, like, when you treat white spots, post-ortho or just white spots in general that weren't congenital, and dentists, you know, they're still going, are these caries underneath these white spots, or can I try to remineralize these white spots? You could jumpstart the diagnostic process with white spots both interproximally and on buccal and lingual surfaces by putting this dye on, this rinse, and knowing whether there is subsurface penetration. And in a sense, if it's kind of like an active lesion that is different than a traditional white spot without subsurface demineralization. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and once you seal it, the caries dies, right? And so
Right.
when you're looking at porphyrins, you're looking at the wrong thing. So the red illumination, it's really something that lights up because there was a bacterium there at any one point in time. That doesn't mean that the lesion is still progressing. If it's sealed up, it stopped progressing, the caries is dead. So what we're working on now as part of our fourth NIH grant is another targeted product where we have proven that we can load fluoride and the essential minerals that are depleted as a result of tooth decay, which is calcium and phosphate, right inside our nanoparticles. So we're very excited about this. It's still in the early stages of development, but our results to date are showing some preliminary work. I have to qualify, but it basically shows that upon a single treatment, we see white spots fading away in 2 weeks when exposed to saliva. And the theory is that these nanoparticles go in, they then serve as a sort of a source to draw on the calcium from the saliva, and over time we see the white spot completely fading away. So that's pretty exciting.
So Stephen, it just opened up a Pandora's box of more questions, but so let's have a flashpoint. It's 2020 fourth quarter. We now can see potentially in a whole different way these subsurface early enamel lesions, or they may not be early, but we'll have such a great viewing tool. Let's say it's 2021. If we could now treat these with what you're talking about, we could treat them in the office. Do you vision the patient also taking, like the office selling a packet of these rinses and they go home for 2 weeks and then come back? Or is this a one-time treatment and then they come back 2 weeks later? Tell me what your vision is as we close this. I'd love to hear that vision of treatment.
Yeah, I think we always anticipated that we would need follow-on treatments, and so if the dentist can really educate the patient on how to use the product, they could take several treatments home. To be honest, we still have to really determine all that very precisely with our collaborators, but so far we've been encouraged that actually upon a single treatment we see pretty good results, even also for dental hypersensitivity. So we've taken SEM images, we've done hydraulic conductance testing, all the testing you need to do. We see a complete blockage of the dentinal tubules. So we're pretty excited about that as well. You know, in this day and age with all the stress going on, I think more people have issues with sensitive teeth. We can potentially do both, treat the pain and also make for a better cosmetic appearance, especially when you're using the various orthodontic braces and devices that are out there, like the clear trays, etc. Some of those come with unfortunate big moment of reveal where now we have this disappointment. While your teeth are nicely aligned, you have these white spots. So we'd love to be able to help with that. So time will tell how good we are, Lou.
Right. Stephen, I want to thank you because to me, and the reason I wanted Midway and Catapult to host this is what I call revolutionary. And if we don't have a vaccine for caries, then the next level is it's all about prevention, and early diagnosis, which is what we all want. I hope the FDA speeds dials you through this process. We start diagnosing in Q4 with GreenMark, and then hopefully in 21, we have better remin possibilities with your technologies. It sounds great. I want to thank you, Stephen. And Stephen, I'm going to bring you back or your team back when you're near launch so we can talk about the process, how doctors can incorporate it, pricing. It's going to be so affordable. We'll get everybody caught up probably in September. Does that sound about right that we could do this again?
Sound good. And if you'll permit me, I would be remiss not to acknowledge our core team at GreenMark, who've been working pretty hard on all of this, and of course our advisors and collaborators for all their important contributions today, including you, Lou, because it's really your fault. I mean, you believed in us in 2016 at that ADA meeting in Denver. So, and then I would like to especially acknowledge my wife, who serves as Vice President of Clinical Affairs for GreenMark, who you met. She first found out about you, and that's why we're in all this trouble now, because of you.
More importantly, she puts up with you. More importantly, Let's call a spade a spade. But here's what's amazing. 2016, I met two breakthrough companies. Smart Mirror, which is launching now 4 years later. GreenMark, 4 years later. That's the process of what all this ingenuity takes. It's amazing. We'll see you back in September, pal. Thanks for being here. So let me be clear. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. So what we want you to do is we want you to go to education@midwaydental.com. Shoot us your questions. We'll go right to the experts. I know I'm not the expert, so let's go ask the experts what we should be doing as our next step next week, the week after, and thereafter. I look forward to hearing from you.